Hi, I'm Brad Dacus, president and founder of the Pacific Justice Institute. Welcome to Faith and Law. Now let's take a look at this latest trending viral video.
Number 5, transgenderism is a mental disorder. Number 6,
Mr. John, stop. No, stop. Stop. Absolutely not. We are not going to, I'm stopping your time. I'm stopping your time because I'm going to correct you.
It's good enough for the kids, but it's too offensive for the school board.
Let's keep this time
Really?
running, but I'm going to ask you to pause. I'm going to ask you to pause. I'm going to ask you, please stop.
you don't want to hear the
Yeah.
truth. You want to cover up the truth so you can get
That's right. That's just what they want to do, cover up the truth.
We can care less about the perverted books that you all want in the school. Get them out and let's get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic.
So here we have a concerned parent who is removed from a school board meeting. Why? Because he read what is in that public school's library. And the school board had a problem with that. Apparently, it's okay to have it in a public school library where children, where minors can read it. But they, the school board members, oh no, they're above that. It's offensive to them. Well, you know what? By golly, if it's too offensive for those school board members to listen to, it's too offensive to have our children in our public libraries listen to and to read and to meditate on. We at Pacific Justice Institute take these very seriously. Unfortunately, this is happening all over the country. And I want to encourage parents to do what this gentleman did. Now, stay within the time limits. Don't give them any pretext to have you removed. Don't make any threats. But expose them. Read this material during the board meeting and let them hear it. Let them from their own mouths say, this is too outrageous. This is too offensive. The truth is powerful. So let's make a point to give that truth front and center at our school board meetings and let those school board members be forced to acknowledge the garbage, the dangerous material that's being presented to our children in public libraries. And hopefully, they'll see the light. All rights are a gift from God, and they're to be used for God's glory and to further God's kingdom. We're opening the door for government, under the same guise of health and safety, to be able to control our lives, whether it's in terms of our privacy, our information, where we go, even how we live our lives.
I had been told that if I didn't get the vaccine that I would not be able to continue my education.
31 offices across the country handling over 185 cases in active litigation. This just doesn't come out of thin air.
The Supreme Court of the United States ruled in our favor.
This year, police arrested a Christian man exercising his right to free speech.
Hundreds of parents were at the state capitol today and they were protesting new guidelines for sex education in public schools.
The world's way, it's to isolate, silence, and destroy.
So you're really seeking to represent the low-profile, overlooked group of people in our communities, but then you also don't charge a cent. And so I want to know why you do that and how that happens.
We do it because I believe that's what Jesus would want us to do. Well, the sad truth is, folks, offensive material, outrageous, dangerous material is being presented to our children in public school libraries across the nation, even in Idaho. Well, we at Pacific Justice Institute are defending a bus driver who was aware of what was going on in the school library, was aware of the materials, was outraged by it, contacted the administration. Nothing was done. So he presented an op-ed piece to the community talking about what was in that school library. And you'd think he'd be applauded. You'd think he'd be rewarded for being such a good, concerned citizen, for caring and loving those children being impacted. Well, that's not exactly what happened. Now, to help talk about this case, I'd like to bring on now PJI Idaho attorney Catherine Hartley. Catherine, welcome to the show. So tell us about this case. What happened in this case?
In this case, our client, Mr. Markley, was employed as a bus driver for a school district. And Mr. Markley became aware of some books in the school library that were very concerning to him related to their age appropriateness for children. And he spoke out about this. He spoke in the community about it and actually ended up writing a letter to the editor, which was published. And it discussed the problem that he had discovered in the school district libraries. And he was fired for writing this letter to the editor.
So, Catherine, this is a case about constitutional rights, right? I mean, this bus driver wasn't doing anything outside of what he is protected to do under the Constitution, right?
Exactly. This case is about free speech, and there is long-standing Supreme Court precedent going back to the Pickering case from decades ago, and many cases since then that have said a government employee, public employee like our client, Mr. Markley, who is employed by the school district, has a right to free speech, even if that speech is critical of his employer, in this case, the school district. So this was a protected right of his to speak on this issue, and it comes down to free speech and longstanding Supreme Court precedent on this issue.
Okay, was this bus driver in any way negligent about actually doing his job as a bus driver? Was there anything on record saying that he did anything that was subpar to justify his termination as a bus driver?
No, he had no complaints of any negligence in his job. There were no problems with him performing his job well. So this was purely related to his speech.
Well, this bus driver was clearly in the right. His constitutional rights were trampled on. I understand you have some good news about this case.
Yes, we have come to a great settlement agreement with the district for Mr. Markley. And including in this settlement is actually First Amendment training for the staff at the school district. So that is great news, and hopefully that will prevent something like this from happening in the future.
Well, Catherine, thank you so much for the work that you're doing on this and other cases for PJI there in the state of Idaho. Free speech is important, folks. We can't take this lightly. And in fact, we have another case involving free speech, involving not just someone, say, losing their job, but actually someone being criminally prosecuted for expressing themselves. To help talk about this case, I'd like to bring on now PJI Michigan attorney David Peters. So, David, this case is different than a normal free speech case because we're talking here about a criminal prosecution for someone exercising their free speech rights or expressing their convictions for the sanctity of human life. What happened in this case, David?
Hi, Brad. It's great to be back on the show. What happened in this case was that our client was with a group of people from church. They went to an abortion clinic with the intent to save the life of unborn children. They knelt outside the sidewalk or on the sidewalk outside the clinic, about 8 feet from the door, which is one case suggests that if you're 8 feet from the entrance, you don't violate the FACE Act. And they did that, and they were not prosecuted. And 3 years later, almost 3 years later, charges were brought against them. And we know what happened. Okay, this is the Biden administration attacking enemies of the regime. This is the Biden administration selectively targeting Christians, selectively targeting Catholics, and now targeting people who exercise their free speech rights. So that's what happened in this case. The outrageous part is not even the FACE Act charge. One could make an argument for that. But this administration, this Department of Justice, has also brought charges for conspiracy to violate civil rights. This is a 25-year felony. Okay? This is the statute that was used to prosecute organized crime. And that statute is now being used to target Christians and believers, claiming that somehow the plot to try to save the life of a baby is a conspiracy that warrants a 25-year prison sentence.
So this FACE Act, which is being used to criminally prosecute him, it's also supposed to be used to protect pro-life clinics, right? But I don't hear about those cases taking place. I don't hear about people being prosecuted for vandalizing pro-life clinics. Is there something I'm missing here?
No, you're not missing anything, Brad. You nailed it. This administration is targeting their political enemies. Okay? And one of their political enemies are people who believe in the sanctity of life, because apparently this administration believes in the sanctity of death. So the FACE Act has two parts to it. It protects pregnancy centers, which are pro-life centers, and it also protects abortion clinics. And the administration is only prosecuting people who violate the part about access to abortion clinics. It is not doing anything to protect pregnancy centers. And they even sent the Attorney General of the United States out, really, to lie in front of Congress and say, oh, well, we don't prosecute the pregnancy center cases because these happen at night. And these over 100 have been firebombed. And there's been one prosecution brought, Brad. All right. But yet they're prosecuting abortion clinic protesters, and they're doing it selectively. So you're exactly right. The statute is two parts. They're prosecuting one part. And that's one of the motions we'll be bringing, equal protection. You can't pick and choose who you're going to prosecute. And so thank you for pointing that out.
David, this case has made national news. It's an important case. What are the implications to the... Sorry. Well, David, this is clearly an important case. It's made the national news. So what are the implications for everyone else if this person is found guilty criminally for his pro-life expression?
Oh, another great question, Brad. Look, this is the tip of the spear. Okay, if this is allowed to proceed, if these people are convicted, there's no restraint on what the government can do. The government can do just what our old buddy Uncle Joe used to do. And I don't mean Uncle Joe Biden. I'm talking about Uncle Joseph Stalin, who was fond of saying, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And that's what they're doing here. They're targeting individuals and then looking for crimes to pin on them. And look, if this is allowed to proceed, we have a grim future. We have a Justice Department that targets their enemies. We have a justice system that will be seen by the people as unfair, because it is unfair.
David, I know a lot of pro-lifers, a lot of people who are involved with sidewalk counseling and other modes of pro-life expression are watching this very closely. How do you see this case moving forward?
Well, moving forward, we're going to trial. We have a trial set for April, shortly before Passover. We have several motions to bring. You mentioned the equal protection argument on the FACE Act. We're going to be bringing that. We're also going to be bringing a motion alleging what's called an invidious prosecution. It's a long shot, but we need to protect the record because, look, this case is probably not going to be won at the trial level. The people, the government has unlimited resources, and the jury probably is not going to be given the opportunity to consider this aspect of selective prosecution that's occurring. But we have things that we'll be doing after the jury verdict. If we win, then the case is over. If we lose, the case ain't over. We will be filing this all the way into the Federal Court of Appeals, into the United States Supreme Court. We have a good circuit. We have a good circuit court in the Federal Circuit, like that. We have a good district court and Court of Appeals, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. So we're confident in the appellate process. We're less confident in the trial process. And I do want to say, we have a pretty good judge. He is an Obama appointee, but he's a very serious judicial scholar. And we're hoping that he will do the right thing ultimately in this case. And if he doesn't, we are prepared to take this all the way up to the United States, all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, if necessary. And it very well could be.
Well, David, thank you for your work on this case. And I know many people will be watching this and praying for you and those you're defending as things move forward. God bless. Well, folks, we at Pacific Justice Institute are taking on cases like this all across the country. In fact, we have over 200 cases in active litigation defending religious freedom, parental rights, and the sanctity of human life all across the nation. And we can't do it without people like you partnering with our ministry to really make a difference for such a time as this.
Well, they're in the trenches and they're fighting, and PGI is on the front lines for the battle for freedom and liberty. They've been doing so much to equip pastors across the country and to really fight for the values that have made this country so great. Honored to be supportive of PGI.
We're living in a time when Christians are constantly under assault for their beliefs in the marketplace. And if there's not someone to advocate for them and help them with the legal necessities of defending themselves, they're going to get fired. They have no recourse. Most people don't have the resources to go hire a lawyer. It would deplete everything they own. And most lawyers, quite frankly, across the country don't deal in religious liberty issues.
Well, we're living in some very difficult days in America where basic freedoms and especially religious liberty is under attack. And that's one of the reasons why Pacific Justice Institute is so vitally important to the future of this nation. What a great group of lawyers, first-class, top-rate lawyers who are willing to stand up for freedom and stand up for our American citizens under attack.
Yeah, I mean, they can support, they can follow, they can pray. We need more organizations like PJI, and I could tell you that being in the front lines, there's not enough people that are actually in the trenches doing the difficult but tough work, and that's exactly why this organization is so critical.
One of the most incredible things about Pacific Justice Institute is that they do pro bono work. And what does that mean? Well, it means the rest of us have a responsibility. We've got to stand up and provide financial incentives and financial opportunities for these attorneys to get out there and do the fighting. And that's one of the reasons why we have Pacific Justice Institute attorneys on my national radio show, because we want to let people know, hey, there's a need here. These folks are doing very important work, and they're doing very important, successful work as well. And that's why they need our support.
When a Christian is targeted for his or her beliefs, it affects every believer in America. This idea that, well, it didn't happen to me. Well, you're next. And when Pacific Justice Institute takes on a case, it's not just that one individual that they really are representing, because a legal precedent may be established from that will protect 1 million believers who could be in the same position for the exact same issue.
Well, folks, it's always important for us to go back to the scriptures, and the scriptures help us to actually understand even better the times that we are in. And there's a really applicable verse to this, I believe, found in Matthew chapter 24, verse 37. And it says, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man." Now, sometimes we look at what's happening around us and we say, I can't believe this. This is crazy. We have the radical LGBTQ activists trying to oppress religious freedom and trounce on others who don't aspire to their viewpoint and their unbiblical perspective. We have intolerance towards people of faith. We have purging of people of faith. We have outright hostility to people who have a Christian beliefs foundation or Christian beliefs doctrine in their lives. Well, the fact is, as we get closer to the coming of Christ, we should not be surprised when we see things like this taking place as took place in the days of Noah. What happened in the days of Noah? You had all kinds of debauchery, all kinds of activities and actions that went against the laws of nature and nature's God. It was open rebellion against God. And that's exactly what I see facilitating around us. Now, how should we respond to what's taking place around us, as in the days of Noah? Let's take a look at Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. It says, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." Whoa. You mean it's not saying we should do the bunker down doctrine? You say, no, what's the bunker down doctrine? Well, what that means is, I made this up, but what it means is we are so gripped with fear about what's taking place around us that we want to bunker down. We want to get our Bible, our bullets, our freeze-dried food, move to some little cabin high up in the mountains, isolate ourselves, and just wait for Jesus to come, to bunker down until Jesus comes. Folks, that is nowhere in Scripture. What is in Scripture is what I just read from Matthew 5:16. "Let your light so shine before men." That is what we need to do. The more we have darkness around us, the more we need to be convicted to let the light shine. The light being the truth and the love of Christ, the hope for repentance and salvation, forgiveness and transformation. Not just what happened in our lives, but what can happen in the lives of everyone around us, including those who are in darkness, who are being deceived, who are being swept away with all the challenges facing our nation and around the world. This is our time to shine, brighter than ever. So folks, no matter what we're facing today, no matter how great the challenges, always, always keep the faith.
Hi, my name is JP Samuel. I'm the lead pastor of the Spectrum Church. We are just incredibly delighted to hear this great news of the recent Supreme Court ruling granting injunction so that we could regather and safely meet indoors. This is just a tremendous news for us. And as a church, we are excited. This Sunday, we are about to bring our kids to meet together and have their kids sessions indoors where they could see their friends face to face, as well as moving our entire church service within a week or so. And we are just so blessed and thankful to God and for PJI, who have been tirelessly working towards helping us to receive this. And I'm also part of a network of pastors who represent immigrant and ethnic churches. And for them, this is a humongous blessing, because for most of these churches, especially those who have immigrant churches, the church is all the family that they have. And especially in this past year, when they have lost some loved ones to COVID in their home countries, and they've not been able to travel because of travel restrictions, not being able to gather together and be encouraged has been a humongous loss. And also some of our friends, they come from countries like Vietnam and Eritrea in Africa, who have very oppressive regimes. And so when they heard that the government is shutting down the church, they experienced PTSD. And some of them have not been able to grapple that, because they came here thinking this is the land of the free and home of the brave. And when they heard the same thing, it has been very difficult. And they are joyful right now that they can freely gather, regather, meet, and worship, and also meet the needs, not just of their own members, especially the kids and young adults, and also the neighborhood, where a lot of other needs have not been able to be addressed because we couldn't gather. And I'm so thankful, especially to the wonderful team of attorneys we've had. We are just so impressed as to how fast they were moving with things happening so quickly. They were on top of stuff, and they were spot on, and all their responses were very well researched and extremely well articulated and just brilliant. And I think we are so thankful that God has blessed us with this wonderful team of brilliant attorneys who have used their gifts to bless the church for times such as this. It's a historic moment, and we are grateful that you guys were able to come and bless all our churches. And this just didn't affect our church, it's opened it up for everybody else. And I'm also thankful to my other colleagues, pastors, and churches who were part of this lawsuit. Couldn't have done this without them. Sometimes it does feel lonely, and you're fighting this big system. And they were very helpful and encouraging to remind us that we have a God who is bigger than the biggest powers and principalities of this world. And so we are so thankful to them. Several other churches financially partnered, and we are thankful to them as well. And once again, our hearts go out in gratitude to Pacific Justice Institute and the work you guys do. May God bless you and use you to be these empowerers of churches in situations and times like this. God bless you. Thank you.